Hi everyone, Greg Vitti with Real Estate Legends. So excited to have Michael Opyd on. Michael actually reached out to me on an email, and I read a lot of his stuff. You know, he's right on the edge of real estate legend or not, but he wrote a book.
I think I am. I'm going to say it just because otherwise I wouldn't be here.
You've gotten beaten down pretty good.
A few times.
Okay,
I
good.
Kicked around a little bit, but I'm still standing. Right?
And you look like you're in shape now. You still made it.
I still made it. I'm still standing here.
So Michael, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in the south suburbs. So
okay.
I'm Oak Forest, little town down there, probably like Oak Forest, Cindy Park, Orland Park area. So I grew up down there. Parents still live in the same house I grew up in.
You have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I got one younger brother, about 2.5 years younger, and then my parents that are, God bless, still around. You know, so they're.
So you went to high school where?
Providence.
And then you go to college?
School. I did. I kind of did two things with college. I actually beat the system. So I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'll give you guys a hack.
Let's hear it.
So I played hockey. So I got recruited to go to Eastern Michigan. It was club. It was Division I club. So I did that for 3 years, and I had a job opportunity here in Chicago, and they told me if you stay and go to a different school, we'll let you work all year round, and you can basically walk right into a job. And after a long time, I thought, okay, you know what, I'm going to do it. And what ended up happening was the job fell through, of course, couldn't transfer back. But what I realized is that grades don't transfer, credits transfer. So I went to actually graduate from Robert Morris University because I came in with a blank slate, all this credit. So I just had to kick ass for 1 year. I did, and I graduated magna cum laude.
Fantastic.
Still pisses my mom off because I had a higher GPA than her.
So what did you study?
Finance. Finance and management.
Well, finance, I think, goes very good with real estate.
Yeah.
The numbers.
Yeah.
I didn't take math, but I was always very good at figuring out square footages and commissions. Amazing. Huh?
Amazing.
I can just right out of my head. I can tell you exactly what's going to be.
Realtor.
I don't. Yes. We're funny that way. We like things that are complimentary. Just like I didn't buy your book yet. Because I'm waiting for the complimentary. I'm a realtor. I'm waiting for the.
No, actually, I got one for you.
There we go. See,
so I got everything.
Excellent. So you got out of college.
Yeah.
And how did you get steered into real estate?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I followed a typical path of go to college. I'm going to corporate America, and I needed to get out of Dodge. So I wanted out of the Midwest. So I just packed up and moved to Boston. I got a couple opportunities out there. Took the higher paying one, of course.
In finance?
Yeah, in finance. I was working for actually one of the banks that helped during the bailout. During the Great Recession. But I did it for 2 years, and it was fine, but it was not for me. I saw the corporate America, what it was like, you know.
It's a grind.
It's a grind that doesn't get you anywhere, though. Like literally doesn't get, well, at least where my experience was. It just didn't get me anywhere. I just saw where the writing was on the wall, and I was just done. I was ready to move back. It was kind of like, those 2 years were like a reset for me. I just needed to reset, come back. But the thing is, I moved back home, and I quit.
So you quit your job, you moved back to your parents' house?
Yeah, so it was funny because my boss, everyone was getting laid off around me. This was right after all this shit.
That was it. You lose a million jobs a month.
Yeah, so everything hits the fan. Everyone's getting laid off. My entire floor is being just gutted. And they brought me in. They're like, "You're cheap labor, so you're not going anywhere." And I was like, "Shit!" I was actually hoping to get let go so I get some money. And,
severance.
Yeah, and that didn't happen. So I just came to the conclusion this isn't for me. And I put my 2 weeks in. I packed up everything I owned into a 2003 Honda Civic, and I had about roughly $2,000 to my name. I drove 15 hours back home, moved back in with my parents, which just pissed them off.
That's humbling.
To the next degree.
Yeah.
Oh, they were so mad. My mom was furious, but
hey, Mr. GPA, you
yeah,
can't handle it on your own, huh?
You know, and I moved in, but I had no idea what I was going to do. And ironically, I was just researching at that time, trying to figure it out. No one was hiring, right? So I came across a thing called the Real Estate Investment Trust, a REIT, which I was dealing with those on somewhat when I was out east, and I was like, oh, you know what? I never really looked into these. I called my cousin who's a realtor up, and she told me what a REIT was, which I never had any money to invest in. But then she's starts talking about being a realtor and what her life is like. And have you ever had those moments where just everything gets crystal clear?
Oh.
And you're just like, oh.
Instant awakening.
Instant awakening, the clouds parted.
Oh yeah,
sun shined on me. And as soon as she told me that you get to basically be your own boss and that all your success is directly related to your own efforts, it was like what I've been looking for forever. And I jumped in head first.
So did you stay at your parents' house and start working?
I did. I was basically commuting into the city.
So right away the office was in the city.
I did not want to be in the suburbs. So I wanted to be in the city. It was actually started with Keller Williams back in the day. That office had long closed, but started there and then just basically kind of slowly built. I mean, it was
I read you said it took about 3 years to get your first sale.
Yeah, first sale was a $62,000 condo on the south side, and it was a short sale that took about 8 months. That was brutal. I was in like survival mode for 2.5 years, just trying to get by and educate myself, and still kicking.
I've mentored a lot of people in this business, and there was this one gentleman, Adam McCrae, and he, like you, was so excited, and he tried so hard, and he would drive in way from the suburbs, and then after a year and a half he stopped, worked for his dad, but his dad was a real negative guy, and so he finally came back. Finally, after 3 years, he makes his first sale. You should have seen how excited he was. And then he tells me, I'm going to go start my own brokerage in the suburbs, and he takes off. I'm like, what do you mean, Adam? You owe me. What are you talking about? But you know what? Again, I don't try to clip people's wings and let them fly. Right. So you were with Keller Williams, and then you went to where?
So it was Keller Williams, and then it was Dreamtown, and then I joined up with the team, but I kind of started feeling out like what the industry was like as I learned more about just how brokerages are run, what the agent meant, like all the agent stuff that we learned just being agents, and I just kind of realized that there wasn't like a brokerage out there that I really felt great about. So I had this idea of like, well, I don't really want to start a team. I had no interest in starting a team. I'm like, I'm gonna start a brokerage up. And then I
made one sale. You're ready to start your own office?
Yeah.
I love it.
By that point, I had a lot more sales.
I got a lot of experience. I got 3 years of getting my ass kicked. I'm ready to go.
I did pretty well up until that point, but I was just like, I want to do the brokerage thing because I felt like I could have more of an impact and help agents more. I really got into that mentorship role with the team I was on, and just loved that. I love the idea of like just helping agents grow, because at that point I think I was probably in like year like 8 or 9 in my career at that point, or somewhere in that ballpark, and I was just like, okay, I feel like I have enough knowledge where I can share that. And I knew with the brokerage, I could have a bigger impact than starting a team or something like that. So then I opened up a RE/MAX.
Fantastic. Well, I always loved the RE/MAX system. I feel like I've been in about 6 systems. I've been to all of their international conventions.
Yep.
And RE/MAX is so much better than everybody's. And I love Keller Williams. They have a really nice one, but they couldn't hold RE/MAX at all because they got 200 different classes and
you got a lot of stuff.
And I always got 2 or 3 or 4 referrals from every time I went. And I've only gone to one Keller Williams. I didn't get a referral off it, but I'm not just doing it for that,
Yeah.
But that's exciting that you went right to RE/MAX too, because that's really more entrepreneurial than being an independent contractor.
That was the biggest thing for me was I was looking for a company that would allow me to brand, first of all, do my own branding, and really just run it the way I had kind of like envisioned running it. And I looked into KW, I looked into other franchises, and RE/MAX was the only one I really felt like would allow me to do what I wanted to do with it. It allowed me to have a brand name, and allow me to do the colors I wanted to do, have a logo, have a slogan. Like, it just was like so independent. I was like, well, that's me, so we're gonna go that route.
After I left RE/MAX, I was like kidding and straight for a long time, and I could look at other offices and see right away who was the RE/MAX agent. Oh, they're branding themselves right. Oh, they've got 10 listings, and you can just tell. It's like, wow, I got to give it to RE/MAX for that. Now, RE/MAX hasn't really hit our marketplace like they've hit other marketplaces, and a lot of people didn't get it. I always loved the connection between the offices. This is way before you, but the MLS&I wasn't around, and so people from the suburbs kind of had to give you a referral.
Yeah.
Now people will come from Libertyville to do a studio apartment, and I feel for them, but that's their mentality.
Yeah.
So you ended up building your brokerage up to how many people did you babysit?
At our peak, it's actually not. That's pretty accurate, to be honest.
Oh, believe me, I know.
Yeah. At our peak, we had about 66 agents. We had 66 agents, 2 offices. We acquired an office, another Remax down the line, and then we were doing about 200 million in production before I sold it.
So let me ask you, did you have them on like a kind of capping program, or was it still their 100% and they're paying their monthly fees?
No, we did it. Honestly, we were through a bunch of different tiers, trying to figure out how to do it. We didn't do the capping thing. It was more just like we went through I don't know how many different commission models to try to figure it out, but it was really kind of based on we tiered it in a way that it was incentivized for them to, you do a certain production level, we move you up. Do another production level, we move you up.
Okay.
You know?
So that's kind of like the old time real estate. So when I got to Remax, it was all 100%. You paid a monthly fee.
Right.
You took down what you ate. And I was in an office where everybody was doing big numbers, and we were all like, you went into our office at a Friday night at like 6 o'clock, and you'd hear 10 different conversations going on. Things were getting written. It was very exciting. And so I didn't need to be the broker owner, because the broker owners came to me and said, Greg, we like the way you are with the other agents. Will you just field the calls of problems and help people? And I'm a glutton for punishment, so that's what I always did.
Right. And you got plenty of punishment, I'm sure.
But as you know, that's the best way to learn is to teach. Mm-hmm. Because you better know what you're talking about if you're going to teach.
Exactly.
And so I really, it helped my career so much by doing that.
Yeah.
And in every office I've kind of gone into, I've kind of taken that role. I would put on big events and just, we took the Remax Cubs Day from 100 people with nothing to 850 people with a DJ, with the main guys coming in from Denver to throw pitches, with the television. Oh no, I made it this whole big huge thing and got a lot of referrals for it. So,
okay.
But so when you said Remax, and I really liked that you're willing to push a little harder, to study this stuff, to have enough confidence to put yourself in this book, and we want to hear all about that. And now you're doing some speaking too.
Yes.
So that's very exciting. Are you speaking around the country yet, or just locally? Or?
Just kind of getting started. I have a few lined up. So next month I'll be in Louisville doing a speak for, actually it's a Remax brokerage, I think for a couple hundred agents. I'm presenting in my own brokerage next week, or week after. So I got a couple things lined up. It's really, I just launched some books a few weeks ago, so it's kind of now just building that momentum up. And I know it's going to snowball as soon as I get more of those.
No, as soon as we put this,
as soon as this goes live,
Joe puts this thing out, you're going to be
managing brokers and owners. I will come speak for free. Keep that in mind.
No, it's never free.
Well,
it'll be complimentary.
Complimentary.
But you need to talk to Tommy Choi in our office.
I know Tommy. Yeah.
You should talk to him because. He went to see a speech once, and you can listen to his Legends, where he went to see this speech, and he got there early, and there was this kid in the front row, and he said, listen, I borrowed $1,000 to get here, and I really want to learn, and Tommy was talking to him, and he was so excited for this kid, and then the speaker came out and basically had a phone book and said, here's all you need, just call from the A's by the time you get to the C's. And Tommy felt so bad for this poor kid that he started to mentor this kid, and he said, I got to speak to help. And now he speaks all over the country. Yeah. And he makes good money doing it, but his speech is built, and you should talk to him because you guys probably have a lot in common.
Yeah.
I was planning on doing it, I still may do it, but I'm having so much fun with the podcast and the commercial and the residential, all the different things I'm working on that my plate's kind of full right now, but I applaud you for doing it. And your whole tagline about this business that's built for failure.
Yeah.
Explain to us what you mean by that.
Yeah, it's gonna. I'm sure it might ruffle some feathers. So
I think that
might help.
We need that kind of in our industry. There's a lot of different turbulence, and we have a lot of problems with the MLS. The way they handle us, the way they don't listen, the way they do it the way they want to do it. We've got problems with NAR. They're too centralized, they didn't spread it out, they made it easy targets for lawsuits that we would have won easily if we'd had the money. Don't even get me started.
Right.
So I'm excited to hear what you have to say, and sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's all right. So if you look at how, how the industry is designed, right? So the way education works is that it doesn't come from the top. It doesn't come from NAR. They'll have a little bit, but there are many things a code of ethics. So they put everything on the local association levels. Well, they have theirs, and bigger places like CAR have more, but you got to pay for it all. And there's no standardized really education for newer agents, to really help them. Not the BS stuff that you kind of oh, here's some words to know. It's how do you really do this job? All that education responsibility falls on the brokerage. But here's the thing about brokerages. Being an owner, I know this for a fact, is that how do brokerages make money? Commissions, right? Who doesn't make commissions? Newer agents. So brokerages don't prioritize educating newer agents. They prioritize their education towards veteran agents because those are the ones that are producing already. And if they can get them to produce more, brokerages make more money, need money to run and scale a business. So what happens is these younger agents come in and they don't have the proper education on really how this business is run, how to do it. And what happens is they have to kind of grind their way through. They have to go through transactions. They got to try to figure it out for themselves until they get to a point where they've been in it long enough. If they survive, 87% fail within their first 5 years.
Is that really right? 87%?
Yeah. And NAR actually, they came out and said 75% fail within year one. So the failure rate's insane.
But I think with those numbers, there's a lot of things that are happening. A lot of people get their license and they're not really committed. There's a lot of people that are trying to do it part-time, and we know that that's probably not going to happen unless you've got someone who's giving you great leads or something.
I mean, and that is part of it. So let me ask you a question. If you had to guess, how many hours does it take to get a cosmetology license? What would you guess?
I'd say 95 hours.
1,500.
Yeah.
You know how many it takes to get on average across the country for a realtor?
Yeah, 40 hours.
Yeah, 80 across the country, right? So, and my joke is always, but hair grows back.
I always try to explain to people that when you're getting your license, you're learning certain things that you probably aren't going to need day to day in real estate. And I think what happens a lot is people get so caught up in the little things like figuring out the square footage or this or that, where this is really about people and relationships. And so how do you not come across, how many movies are there where the realtor is shown as this complete, arrogant jerk who doesn't care about anything but money and doesn't really help and is making a lot of money? And it's sad that that's the perception.
Yeah.
But the truth
100%.
is, if you're really listening hard and you really want to be of service to someone and you really find out maybe it's not now for the sale, maybe it's in 4 months once they fix their credit, or maybe it's once they get their down payment, or helping them with this, and it's a long game. And so most people are not disciplined enough or passionate enough to really do what this business takes.
Right.
And every once in a while I say to myself, wow, this is really hard. But I get excited about it. To me, it's an athletic event. And every day I get up and I'm ready to go at it.
It's a challenge, right?
It's a challenge and it's fun and I'm going in a lot of directions. But I could see how it would be. I just saw this gentleman, JD, today. He's a nice guy. He's out here. He's handsome. He's tall. He's trying. And I was trying to explain to him, our subconscious mind only knows what we train it. So if you keep saying here that's a tough, there's no inventory and everything else, you are going to fail for sure. Now, if you wake up or before you go to sleep, you say, tomorrow's my day. I'm going to have the best energy I've ever had. I'm going to take it to the hole. I'm going to do this. And then in the morning, you make your list and you go after it. You know what? You're going to have a good chance of that because you have passion and purpose behind it and focus. But without that, I see why 13% only make it. Because a lot of people don't have that. So I'm very excited for you, though, that, you got in 2009, so you got in a lot, in a tough time, and not that long ago for how much you've accomplished.
Yeah, it's, like I said, those first few years, it was interesting, because, if you, like you just said, if you're passionate about something, whatever it is, you're going to find a way through every single obstacle. If you're being pulled for something, you'll get through whatever it is that comes up. So I just looked at it, it was a challenging time. It was just, how do I just get through to, like you said, the next day? How do I get through the next day? So you find when you think about it enough, your brain will get creative and you'll come up with ideas and you'll be like, oh, actually I could just do this or I could just do that. And then all of a sudden you blink and it's 2 years later and you're like, I just got through that. How the hell did I do it?
Or find someone like Mike or myself who have patience and time to really help you. I remember when I was at Jameson Sotheby's, this friend of mine sat behind me and he said, Greg, how come all these newbies always come to you? And they ask you a million questions. And you're so nice about it. I said, because I was a newbie once. And you know what? A lot of times those newbies will give me the referral. But Brett, right next to me, when they come for commercial, he just wants a referral. He won't give them any information. I said, because that's the commercial attitude. I'm born in the residential field and happen to do commercial.
Yeah.
So I do it a little differently. But I really feel like as human beings, we need to help each other. Like, we're not going to be here that long.
No, that's what I said. We got this little bit of time, right?
Right.
That's what we want. We want connection, right? That's what human beings, we really crave it. And if you're not willing to connect with someone, you're going to live a really sad life, because this is where it all comes. Just us having a conversation. This is where life really grows, where we grow as human beings. But if you're isolated, it's going to be boring.
And also, if your ego has you, then you're miserable, and you don't know it, and you want to make everybody else miserable.
Yep.
If you think you are what you have, what you do, and what other people think of you, you're in trouble, because then you're mad, you're misery, one little thing sets you off, you're complaining about this, complaining about that. Next thing you know, you have a cesspool. So you got to raise that energy up, and it's hard to do, but it's really simple if you get good at it.
Yeah.
Just like with this business, you show up every day, you call out people.
Yeah.
You get beat in the face and some things don't work out. But when something, like I had an inspection Sunday morning, and my client's only 27 years old, she's a teacher. She doesn't realize it, but I've worked it out where she's going to get some grants she doesn't know about yet. She's so ecstatic that she's going to be able to own this house, and she's going to live there with her sisters, and just her energy. And she says to me, Greg, I know that this is the kind of stuff you usually work on, and you just know the process so well. You've helped me so much. Like, I just appreciate it. And just the look on her face, it gives me goosebumps thinking about it. Like, that's the great thing about real estate. We touch people at a different level.
Well, it's such a personal decision, right? I mean, it's arguably the biggest decision you're going to make in your life, financially at least. And you see that with people, especially buying for their first time, just that the emotions, and when they're done signing the paper, just that, like, they're euphoric. And it's like, that's really the cool thing. That's why I always encourage agents, go to the closing, because you're going to, not minus all the social media stuff you can do, like getting photos, all that stuff's great, but when you see those people really that excited, like, it feels just different inside, especially with all the stress we go through just to keep a deal together.
I sold a state senator house last year, and I'm not putting him on a pedestal, he's a state senator, but I'm very close with him, and I worked with them for 4 or 5 months trying to sell him a place. And when I turned to him right before the closing, I go, how are you feeling? And he just started to cry. He goes, I'm the first one in my family to ever own a piece of property.
Wow.
His grandparents didn't know, his parents didn't know.
I think how powerful that is, right?
I was taken back, and just to feel that energy. And so then after the closing, he goes, you're not just like abandoning us now, are you? I go, no, we have a lot of work to do. He goes, what do you think we have to do? We have to do plumbing, we have to do electrical, we have to do contract, we have to do the floors, we do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And they would call me and say, we need to Zoom with, and I just kept helping them through all the contractors. And some people would say, wow, you're just giving that away. And I'm like, no, I'm setting myself up with these people to be a billboard for them. And so I agree with you that it is set up very tough. There's no easy way to just educate someone. And I don't think book learning will get someone there. It's like if you come to me and say, hey, I think I want to play guitar. Yeah, are you willing to commit to it?
Right.
Well, I'll pick it up once in a while. No. You got to be telling me that you're going to practice all your scales 15 to 20 minutes a day. You're going to take a class. And if you don't have that kind of passion for it, you're not going to make it.
Exactly.
And it's the same way in this industry.
It is. I mean, with anything you do, if you're going to do anything of significance, you have to have passion behind it, or you will literally turn around and walk away as soon as the first challenge comes.
So let's talk about you writing this book. Mm-hmm. Did you write it like talking to a recorder? Did you write it on a typewriter?
Do they still make typewriters?
Well,
are those still around?
Yeah, I guess. When I was a journalist, I used typewriters. When I think of my computer, I still think of it as a typewriter. But no, you're right. There's no typewriters anymore. Damn it.
That was a labor of love on my computer. I was a keyboard hero trying to figure out how to write a book. I wrote one a long time ago. It was like a really small thing for helping people buying the first time in Chicago, and I've always liked writing. So I wrote it in my first draft, which first drafts always suck. And it was brutal, but I wrote it really, really quickly, and I put it down, picked it up, put it down, picked it up, and then finally it just said, I'm doing this.
So did you double space it so you could write in and add things, or
No,
you just kept going back
just
and changing it?
What I guess my process was more like I just need to word vomit. Like I have everything else up. I have everything up here. I just got to get it down, and then I can organize it. And that's kind of how I did. I would write, and then I would organize, and then I'd reorganize. Like I had to move chapters around because I wanted it to flow in a way that someone could really take it from start to finish, and do it in an order that they need to build a business out. And like I start with the one thing I start with this mentality, the mindset, like we're talking about, right? You have to have a mindset to do this. So. I knew that had to be first, and then just like when do I put buyers and sellers and leads and prospecting. I had to kind of like figure that out as I went through the process, but it was really just me just kind of typing it and then reviewing it and putting it in an order I felt like made the most sense.
That's great. And are you planning on writing a second book?
Well, I wrote a workbook that goes with it, so
Good.
I kind of did two, because I knew the main book. It's probably like 200-300 pages, and it's a really easy read. Like it's written that way to read it really quickly, and I guess comprehend as much as you possibly can when you get out of a book. But I didn't want to have like all these examples and how to do this and how to do that in there, because the book would have been like ridiculously big.
Have you done an audiobook on it yet?
It's in the process. I haven't done it yet,
Fantastic.
but that's going to be at some point. It's on the checklist of things.
That's good.
But I did the workbook, and it's an interactive workbook. So it's designed for people to actually fill out aspects of their business, like they build a budget in it, they do all this, and it's designed so they actually, when they're done, they kind of have pretty much everything built out. I mean, it's not going to get them sales immediately because they got to actually put the effort in, but they're going to be miles ahead of where like I was when I was just starting out.
Fantastic. I have a friend of mine who wrote a book. He's a public speaker. He's been traveling. Like companies like Cisco hire him all over the country, all over the world. And his book is called "Nothing Gets Sold Till the Story Gets Told."
It's
His
true.
name is Steve
That's
Moulter,
a good one.
and I want to introduce you to him. And
I love it.
If you get on his email, he writes like I think it's now probably once or twice a month this long email that's. So I went to breakfast. I'm like, Steve, you write those emails every month? I do. I said, you're my hero. Like, it takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
This is not a simple thing.
It's a labor of love right
It's
there.
a labor of love. And
Yeah.
he's been doing it for like 70 weeks now, or 70 issues. And so I'm hoping a lot of success for you. I would
Thank
think
you.
a newsletter will probably help you too.
It's on the list.
Fantastic.
Yeah, the one thing I really found is that in the past, when I would try to do stuff, I would try to do too much at once. And what I was thinking, like, I want to do this, I want to do the newsletter, I want to do a podcast, like all this stuff that I like have in mind. But I'm like, I kind of just sat down and said, like, there's no way I could do all of it at once. I need to just focus on what I need to focus on, and that's why one of the reasons I reached out to you is just I just need to start, like, I'm in what I call phase 2, which is like promotion, right? Trying to get the name out there, trying to get the book known, trying to get speaking engagements, and then.
Well, I've got one for you.
after that.
I've got one at Hope Academy for you. Ike Musicowski, I just interviewed him, and he would love your message, and you could
Oh, I love
to
it.
kids about real estate for
Absolutely.
sure. And
That'd
I
be
can
fun.
get you other ones too.
Thank you.
It just it's slow and steady. It's
Yep.
one day at a time. But I tell you, doing the podcast has been really fun for me. And since I'm on Facebook sharing all my podcasts with people, I get people writing to me saying, "Hey, I want you on my podcast." So the other day, I was on someone else's podcast.
That's awesome.
And it was a riot. I was having a blast. Like, I felt like it got a little preachy at times, but that's my sincerity coming
Yeah.
out. And doing this more often, your guard comes down, and you don't feel so vulnerable anymore,
No.
and you're willing to share on a different level.
No, and I think that's like that's the best, right? When you get that authenticity, you get that real person, because how much shit's fake nowadays? There's
Oh, God.
filters, and we're so worried about every way we are viewed, and it's just like, just be yourself, and it's so much more fun.
I'll tell you what, too. If another realtor tells me how many millions of dollars they sold, I want to just throw up.
Yeah,
Sorry,
heard
guys.
that plenty of
You know
times.
what? We are hurting ourselves with some of our marketing. We don't have to tell people how rich we are, because really, we should be telling them how much it costs to run a business. Because the ledger sleeves, if you don't have it together and you're not organized with your money and you just start going into the marketing, you could, and I know there's a lot of realtors, like there was one realtor that won the RE/MAX, title of being the #1 that year. And it was actually a woman, and she really didn't make any money that year. because she paid all of her team members, she paid for everything, her office expenses, all of her marketing, and she made no money. So it's really, and they really teach it here hardcore at Keller Williams, that it's really about your spreadsheet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, would you rather make more money but spend even more? No, you want to make a good amount and save a lot.
Yeah.
So.
And today it's so easy to market. You know, there's so many things you can do for free. You know, one of my favorite things, and I would definitely want to make sure I mention this, is, and it's high, this is like the one method I would say that hardly any agents really use, a newsletter, but not the brokerage newsletter. If you spend any time understanding the stats behind like e-newsletters, there's so much money and so much
There's power
in it, and it's just, but nobody does these.
You're educating.
That's it, right? And it's so easy. I in my book and then in my presentation I actually talk about that. There's something I call $100,000 newsletter, and it was one of those first things that I put in place when I first started. And when I stopped selling, because I did it for years, and when I stopped selling, that's the only piece of marketing I did. And I spent 30 minutes a month, so 6 hours essentially a year, 6 hours, right, on this one piece of marketing, and I was still bringing in 5 million plus in production. And I wasn't trying to do it.
So think, if you did 5 million production last year, you're up in the higher echelons of the board, which is really kind of sad because sales were at a 30-year low last year, you know?
Yeah, I mean, but that's the one piece, and you could do it for free nowadays. Like MailChimp, I think you could send a certain amount before they make you pay. And
do you write all of the articles, or do you kind of share some?
I'll tell you the secret to it. It's very simple. You build a template, right? You have your branding all over it. You still got to put your brokerage stuff at the bottom. That's the legal part, right? And then the unsubscribe stuff. But then you put your branding all over it, and then all I would do this. I would have a snapshot of just kind of like a market summary where I just kind of talk, right? Like, here's kind of what I'm seeing. I don't load it with stats because stats are boring as shit. But I'm just kind of like, here's what I'm seeing in the market. If you're a seller, think about this. If you're a buyer, and I try to like use the message because it's going out to my database to kind of get people to take action, you know? So I kind of get them excited about what's going on and show them a professional, give them value. And then I just include 3 articles where it's just like a photo, click to go to the link, click to go to the article. And then at the end, I always put like, I call it like, it's like the way I do it's like a give, take formula. So I'm giving value, because the articles are real estate related, right? And at the end, oh, don't forget, I do real estate. Here's a recent sale. Here's one of the reviews I got. You know, here's a new listing. So I put the real estate stuff at the bottom, and I can seriously, there's been times where I didn't send the newsletter out, I forgot. I send it out on the first of every month. And I got people emailing me, Mike, what happened? Are you still in the industry? I don't know what's going on. I didn't get it. Am I still on your list? And I don't have thousands and thousands of people on my list. I think I got it down to like maybe 300 or 400. And it was still producing me that much, and I was spending little time on it. Like, yeah, it took me some time to get to that point, but if you put something like that in place, like those things pay off, and it's like it costs like nothing. You know, between that, social media, calling, like we were talking about before, nobody calls.
Nobody calls.
Call, text, emails, they're all
I come
free.
in here and I see these young agents, and they just stare at their computer.
Yeah.
And they stare, and they put it, and they talk, and it's there, and it text, and it's there, and it's like, why don't you call somebody?
Yeah.
No one wants to hear. Well, because if you have that attitude, you're right.
Right.
You know, it's like this in the world. Do we live in a harsh, evil world, or do we live in a loving, peaceful world? You pick, and that's what you get.
Yeah.
Same way in real estate. Are you a trustworthy, hardworking, focused, intelligent person? Or are you a nervous, fearful, worried, scared person, and you get what you decide?
Yeah.
So I feel like it kind of, that's what's funny about real estate is that, you know, you got to find people, you've got to help them, you've got to be peaceful about it. You can't be mad when things don't work out. I worked with one of my friends for 5 months. We finally found the house. We wrote the contract. He got transferred to Texas. He goes, "Can you get me out? I can get you out." You're lucky. You're 3 days away from me not to be able to get you out.
Well, that's the industry too. I think that's where the mentality of like it goes like this. And one of the stories I always tell people is I had this one day, and I'll never forget it because it was like the ultimate roller coaster. And I had in the morning I was supposed to have a closing, and it was a new construction. Spent 6 months on it. I'm sure you've done new construction. You know, it's not like, if it's not built, there's a whole
it could be a year and a half.
Yeah, so we worked on it for 6 months. Bunch of issues. We had all this. We finally were ready to close, and we go to the final walkthrough, and the developer just dropped the ball. And I'm like, okay, maybe we could try to salvage this at the closing table. He just did not live up to what he was supposed to do. Got to the closing table, couldn't salvage it. Clients walked away, and it was the right move. It was absolutely the right move, and I totally supported him. But I mean, like, you know, I was just like, I just lost $12,000 whatever in commissions. I'm like, holy shit! And literally 3 hours later, I had a listing appointment for a $700,000 multi-unit. Now, if I would have taken all that anger and frustration that had happened in the morning from that closing falling apart and took it to the listing presentation, no chance I'm getting that. But I didn't, because you gotta just understand that's how the industry is. You gotta stay focused.
I had clients that, and I kept telling them, don't go with the no money down deal. It seems shady. And they went with the special program. They got clear to close. It's the day of closing, and the underwriter realizes, you can't make this much money in this program. This doesn't work.
Oh my God.
So I had to call the seller. I had to convince them, not only are they not going to close, but we really need their earnest money back. And they were willing to give the money back. And what I found in these situations are, if you stay in the right light with it, you're going to get them something that's 10 times better. So I went back to my clients and said, what were those other areas you liked? We liked Lockwood, this, that.
Yeah.
So I set up everything that's there. So he calls me right back and goes, Greg, did you see that the one has 13 acres and it's only $320,000? And the house they were getting was like $480,000. I said, no. So I looked closer. I said, let's go see it today. Went out there, and the realtor explained to me that it was an FHA deal. It's going to be a very hard thing to do. So sure enough, they bought 13 acres with a house, with a garage, with a big, huge, like, manufacturing deal. The guy was a grower, so he started growing his crops out in the back. He started growing something else in the big thing, and what a windfall for them. So the darker the night, the brighter the star.
I like that.
Michael, do you have anything else you want to tell the fans before we sign off?
No, I would say, like, anyone that's out there that's looking for help or anything like that, just check me out. There's a lot of content I put out. Greg does too,
but give your website.
Yeah, so it's just michaelopyd.com and
spell it.
MichaelOpyd.com. Michael Opyd at all the social medias. I do a lot of Instagram, Facebook, and this is TikTok stuff too. But it's all just out there education to help you. So definitely take advantage of all that. And check my books out too. The Education of a Real Estate Agent. You definitely need those. This is Greg Vitti for Real Estate Legends and Real Estate Channel, signing off. Thanks, Joe Cortana.